Committee. It is Wednesday, May the 20th at 3 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hearing none, let's move to the approval section. Item number 1 is minutes from the April 15th Finance Committee meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the Wednesday, April 15th Finance Committee meeting.
A second.
All right, the motion is made and second. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Passes 3-0. Item number 2 is the Academy Creek Clarifier Mechanism purchase. Mr. Burrows?
Yes, sir. We awarded a contract for Phase 1 services for a progressive design build project, BGJWSC construction, to rehab the 6 existing clarifiers at Academy Creek in January. The scope is to completely rehab the existing clarifiers. We'll take them down to bare concrete, recoat the concrete, and replace all the internals. We've been working with BRW and Carter and Sloop to refine the scope for the project and working with them to select equipment manufacturers for the clarifiers. We got 3 proposals that have been reviewed with the contractor to ensure that if we purchase these ourselves, that it would fulfill project needs. By procuring the equipment directly, we avoid the overhead and markup line items in the design build contract, avoiding a cost of $608,800 for that markup. The 3 proposals include mechanisms, the rotating mechanism, launders, weirs, scum baffles, scraper oxygen. Opposite the suction header, these clarifiers have a suction arm on the bottom as it rolls along the bottom of the clarifier that removes sludge. We're adding a scraper arm to the opposite side, and then a second skimmer arm on a clarifier. Floating solids will come to the top called scum. There's 1 skimmer arm currently. It's a single radius that pushes. We're going to have 2 of those, so it's continuously pushing so it doesn't build up as much scum along the top. The best price for these out of the 3 selected clarifier manufacturers is a combination of Evoqua water technologies to do the clarifier mechanisms, with the launders, weirs, scum baffles being provided by Nefco. The total cost of that is $3,805,000. The packet in your handout does not include all of the equipment supplier submittals. They are available on the digital form, but to say the 66 pages of printout, we just gave you the summary sheet. We'll note this did go through the facilities committee and the breakdown of the 2 closest. The clarifier mechanisms are very similar in cost. And launders, one thing I will note, these adders are the same for both of them because those will be adders for both. And then the second skimmer is required for Evoqua versus Avivo. You'll see a coatings number on the Avivo system. The coating, the hot dip galvanized coating on the metal is included in the Evoqua price, is why there's not a secondary coating cost for that. These are long lead time items. The hope is that we bring the construction or installation contract for these to you in June for review, but since we're ordering these out front, it's 12 weeks for submittals and then 28 weeks for delivery after submittal. We're working with the provider to hopefully get us 1 or 2 earlier instead of waiting to ship all 6 simultaneously, because we can't work on all 6 simultaneously. So we're hoping to get them in stages.
All right. You sure you haven't missed anything there? That was a long list there.
I'm sure there's something. We're probably missing a few bolts, but we're doing the best we can. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion on this matter.
I move that the Finance Committee recommend purchasing clarifier equipment from Evoqua Water Technologies and Nefco Systems in the amount of $3,805,000.
I'll second the motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any questions on this matter? All those in favor? Matter covered. Excuse me. Passes 3-0. Item number 3, the water main bulk materials purchase.
Yes, sir. We have 2 water main projects that we are providing materials for construction. The first is a water main relocation project at Howard Coffin Park. We have to relocate an existing water main outside of a city living shoreline drainage project area. Currently, the water mains leave the Howard Coffin well site and go under, or actually no, they go through the ditch right now. And so not the best scenario. So we're relocating those under the ditch, but we also have to relocate further down once we get past the ditch. So we've got the materials on hand to get the water main out of their way, but we have to relocate the other parts. And then also, we have a second project to install a new section of water main along Highway 99 and northward towards I-95 to provide for a future water main looping project. And so, given the similar nature of these materials and projects, we went out to combine quotes for this. These quotes include both HDPE and PVC piping, fire hydrants, valves, all associated gaskets and fittings and things of that nature to complete these projects. We were able to get 3 quotes. We requested quotes from 5. The low quote was from Consolidated Pipe and Supply, $276,515.45. This is funded through 2 separate capital projects. These will be received into inventory, and as they're consumed on the projects, they will be billed to the individual project accounts. We did note, we're hoping these numbers are still good. We got these quotes Friday, but with the current HDPE market with petroleum prices, we're trying to get these locked in as quick as we can.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Finance Committee recommend approving the purchase of water main materials from Consolidated Pipe and Supply Company in the amount of $276,515.45.
I'll second the motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second. I have a question on the Howard Coffin Park. Which came first, the ditch or a pipe?
I believe the ditch was there first.
Okay, all right.
I
But
believe the
that's-
ditch was there first. It's cased. The casing is deteriorated significantly in there from the tidal areas on that ditch.
Right.
And so rather than repeating the same hazards, we're going underneath.
Right, okay. Any other matters, questions on this discussion? All right, all those in favor? It passes 3-0. Item number 4, the pump station 2002 pump purchase.
All right, this is a replacement pump purchase for pump station 4002 in downtown Brunswick. These 2,500 gallon per minute pumps. These pumps are both at least 10 years old. The most recent invoice for a pump purchase was from June of 15. I cannot find an invoice for the previous one because it predates our records in the existing billing, our financial softwares. They've both been repaired multiple times each. We were approved a capital project for the replacement of lift station pumps beginning July 1st. But given the critical nature of this pump station and long lead times of 15-plus weeks, we find it prudent to go ahead and place the order for these new pumps with the understanding they will be paid from the capital project that is funded July 1st. We're able to get 3 quotes. 2 quotes are very close together, KSB and Sulzer. I will note that KSB project does not include freight on their cost. The Sulzer price does include freight on the cost, and Xylem does include freight. Freight for a pump C size usually is around $10,000. So Sulzer's Hydroservice, which is a Sulzer pump, is actually the lowest cost and has a lower lead time. $125,968.90 to purchase 2 pumps from Hydroservice for replacements at 4002.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Finance Committee recommend approving the purchase of pumps for PS 4002 from Hydra Services Incorporated in the amount of $125,968.90.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Discussion on this matter? I did have a question on the Hydra one. It indicates the custom stand, $2,600. It was not included. Is that going to be necessary with the other one also?
Yes.
Is that something that they will provide?
Yes, so they're gonna provide it, and as talked about a lot at the Facilities Committee meeting, with the next item we'll talk about, there's gonna have to be reworking of the stands regardless of the pumps we get with.
Due to the age of the pumps? Understood.
Due to the reconfiguration of.
Right, everything. Any questions on this matter? Hearing none, all in favor? Passes 3-0. Now we're up to item 5, the pump station 4002 pumps installation.
Yes, sir. So we also requested pricing to install the pumps once they get here. Ended up with a different provider for this. So this is installation of the new pumps. These are more challenging pumps to install. Their dry pit, but we also have to form new support stands and modify the existing concrete supports in the station. And so to go out for these pricing, the lowest price was from Cornerstone Mechanical at $46,700. And they will, again, pumps won't be here for 15 weeks, but they're ready to go once we get them here.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that the Finance Committee recommend approving the installation of pumps for PS 4002 by Cornerstone Mechanical in the amount of $46,700.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any questions on this matter? Have we, I have a question. Have we used the Cornerstone previously?
We never used their installation. We have ordered materials from them before, so we're familiar with the sales staff. We've never used their mechanical installation team before, but very good price compared to the other two.
I was going to say, it looks significantly lower, so. Any other discussion on this matter?
Have we seen the certificate of insurance? Do they have a,
We have not requested that
That
so
wouldn't-
far. But
I
we'll-
don't think it should hold up the approval, but I think we should have a look at that.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Matter covers 3-0 it is. All right. Item 6, the Academy Creek Grit Auger modifications.
Yes, sir. The existing influent wet well at Academy Creek that houses the Headworks facility, we installed new bar screens about 5 years ago. The bar screens dump the screened waste into a sluice, which goes to a wasp press and then is pressed out into a roll-off container. After that is a grit removal process where grit is then augered out to a container after it is washed. And currently they're trying to go into the same container. Based off the configuration, it's very challenging to get both of those to work in tandem and land in the right spot, so we end up having to scrape a lot of grit off the ground and dump it in there. We are also having problems currently with the grit auger. If you imagine an auger, as the blades get worn, it is less efficient and grit starts falling backwards and it starts binding up. This is to replace the grit auger, and in the process of doing that, rotate it 90 degrees so we can use 2 separate roll-off containers to avoid the grit falling on the ground. Lowest cost price for this was from K Machine Industrial Services at $38,530. We're able to get one other price from Diversified because this has to be machined, limited pool of local contractors for that kind of work.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this matter.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Finance Committee recommend approving the modifications to the Academy Creek Grit Discharge Auger by K Machine Industrial Services, LLC, in the amount of $38,530.
Second.
All right, that's a motion and a second. Any discussion on this matter? I think your description was quite adequate, Mr. Burrows. All right, all those in favor? Item passes 3-0. And then we're up to item 7, the Dunbar Creek Clarifier Number 1 rehab.
Yes, sir. As part of a recent capital project, we installed a third clarifier at Dunbar Creek. And that is preferable now for us to be able to do some maintenance on the other 2 clarifiers. Because of the fluctuating flows between day and night over there, it's very difficult to take when we only had 2 clarifiers, one of them offline for any extended period of time, be able to do extensive maintenance to it. So now that clarifier 3 is online, we're taking clarifier 1 offline, done an inspection on it, and identified some rehab needs. So we sent a scope of work out to get pricing to repair the steel supports for the suction header and replace structural members of the scum wiper, reattach the scum wiper, and reseal the V-notch weirs across the clarifier. We were able to get 3 quotes, with a low price being from K Machine at $38,600. This is work that would have been almost impossible to do in a non-emergency situation prior to the third clarifier being brought online.
Right. All right, I'll entertain a motion on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Finance Committee recommend approving the repair of Dunbar Creek Clarifier Number 1 by K Machine Industrial Service, LLC, in the amount of $38,600.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Discussion on this matter? All those in favor? Passes 3-0. And we are now up to the financial statements. Mr. Owens?
Good afternoon. Financial statements for April 30th, 2026, starting with the balance sheet. Our cash and cash equivalents for the month decreased a little over 1.4 million to 3.126 million. Basically, we paid out about 4.5 million checks and payments to vendors, and received payments from our customers of about 3.6 million. So that was most of that change in cash. Prepaid expenses increased by $529,000 to $763,000 for the month. That was basically our payments for our annual insurance premiums. And that resulted in total current assets changing by a decrease of $381,000, putting total current assets at $12,869,000. Restricted cash accounts, the biggest change we saw there was we made a bond draw of about $834,000. So that hit, bringing our trustee funds to $3.948 million. And total restricted cash ends at $58,600,000 for the month. In capital assets, the biggest changes were to construction in process. We added a little over $2 million to that account this month. The biggest increases there were on the FEMA mitigation project of about $1.1 million, exit 29 about $723,000, and galvanized replacements $136,000 there. All told, capital assets ended the month at $227,507,000. That's an increase of 1.54 million. Current total assets increased $423,000 for the month, ending at $300,463,657. In current liabilities, our biggest change was to our accounts payable, which decreased a net amount of $328,000 for the month. Let's see, we had a number of project costs in there of about and $2.18 million in non-project costs that were paid out. Let's see, project costs, biggest ones we saw were Oak Bridge, well, excuse me, that's, I already mentioned the projects. These are the non-project costs that make up the change in accounts payable. Oak Ridge Insurance, that was a little over $600,000. Georgia Power, $352,000. Nippon Sanso Matheson, which is a chemical supplier, $289,000. Delta Municipal, $136,000. And then King's Colonial Ford payment for one of our new vehicles, $74,000, and Lewis and Rawlinson Fuel, $435,000. Basically, all told, in accounts payable, we paid out $4.5 million. But then, of course, we brought in new invoices of a little over $4 million. Net change to total current liabilities was basically $248,000 for the month. That is, of course, a little different from the $327,000 change in accounts payable. The roughly close to $100,000 difference was we also increased retainage payable. But that left total current liabilities at $10,266,000 for the month. Having no other significant changes in liabilities this month, our total liabilities decreased $227,000 to end up at $75,922,000. Going to page 3, our summary revenue and expenses. No big surprises or standouts here. Saw about a $3.46 million increase this month. So that was our month revenues for the month, bringing total operating revenues to $36,419,730, which is $3.3 million better than budget. Personnel and operating expenses tend to be continue to run over budget. Personnel expenses for the month, $1,080,000. Operating expenses for the month, $1,325,000. Total operating expenses year to date are sitting at $25 million, which is $2.77 million over budget. But that left us with net operating revenue of $11,400,000, almost $418,000, which is $567,000 better to budget. Bad debt did increase a significant amount, $96,520, ending up at $398,000 for the month. Basically, we're seeing a trend over the course of this year of the portion of our receivables that are in the over 120 days aged category. That balance is increasing, and that's, the significant driver of our continued increase in bad debt expense this year. But after interest expense, debt principal, and reserve transfers, that puts us at a net loss of $245,000 year-to-date, which is only $11,500 off of year-to-date budget. Going to page 4. This is, of course, our breakout of operating expenses by division, and it's the usual suspects. Group insurance continues to be the driver of the budget variance in the finance department, where it's $766,000 over budget at almost $3.7 million. The wastewater operations, that continues to be oxygen, biosolid removal, the normal things that we've talked about all year. Continuing to page 5. We talked about the changes in cash in the asset section of the balance sheet. So on this report, page 5, the only thing I want to mention is an additional $410,000 that was a transfer from our revenue deposit account to our payroll account for the month-end payroll. That transfer was made on April 30th, but the payroll itself is paid May 1st.
Okay.
So, that basically it makes it look like we had, at least from a transfer perspective out of the revenue deposit account, it looks like we had 3 payrolls in the month of April, which is not actually the case.
But you wanted to be sure the money was in there before you issued the paychecks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if the money's not there when they auto draw that off.
Yeah, that's not so, yeah.
We'll get some complaints about people not getting paid.
Okay.
We also transferred $211,000 out of our R&R reserve to the cash account. I mentioned the bond draw on the construction fund, and essentially that, and also to note, SPLOST receipts for the month were $269,000. A little on the low side for our monthly receipts, but still within the average range that we usually see. And that put total cash at 64, cash and investments at $64,451,000 for the month. Page 7 is our investment summary. We're seeing yields going up, prices are going down. So, of course, we saw another negative fair market value adjustment this month, but only $29,700 on the entire portfolio. Our interest income for the month was $172,000 for the month, and the overall yield to market on the portfolio is still 4.05%. And then the last 2 pages, of course, are the capital projects report. The only significant change to note there is that the Wesley Oak Circle project has been capitalized, so it's moved off of the list at the top of the page down to that next section of capitalized projects.
Could we go back to page 7 again on
Sure.
on investments? Under governments are the Wisconsin municipal bonds.
Right.
Those matured on May 1st.
Right. You'll see that one roll off.
All right. And so typically you'll roll them in, you'll work with I guess, Synovus, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, and
And reinvest that
Reinvest
most likely into U.S. Treasury bonds.
and that definitely is a significant change in interest, I would say.
That's the last one from the very lean interest rate years.
Right, yeah, great, okay. I've been watching it for a while. Anything else? Any other questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate keeping an eye on things here for us. All right, now we're up to the last item here, the discussion item, the 2026 pension valuation report. And I asked Mr. Burrows to add this to our agenda here today because this is of great importance to the employees. This is one of the benefits that we give out, and it's kind of interesting. The history of public pensions originally was because government jobs didn't pay as much, and it was a way to get people to come and take government jobs to offer them a pension. And as things have evolved, obviously, government jobs are quite on par with private sector. But instead of switching to a 401k or something, we maintain our pension here, and it's a great value and to the benefit to the employees and for their staying around so they could be eligible for the pension. So, Mr. Burrows, maybe you can give us some more information about the pension?
Yes, so as we get into this, a couple of things. It says here on the cover that this is an actuarial valuation review as of January 1st. However, this is actually as of September 30th of last year. It's considered as of January 1st, and they adjust it for the July 1st fiscal year. So keep that in mind.
The actuaries did their work on.
I was gonna say, it's-
January 1st.
Yeah.
It's because they're actuaries.
Yeah, the
Exactly.
actuaries did their work on January 1st from data that we submitted at the end of September, and then we get the report in May. So,
Even if you're great at math, it's not necessarily good to be an actuary.
yeah. These guys are very good at what they do. I don't know that they would be the most fun at parties. So, a lot of information here. We will by no means go through this entire 59-page presentation.
Thank you.
But as you recall, we've made some changes to our, the way we vest and the contributions required for newer employees. So we have a Tier 1 and Tier 2 pension program. Tier 1 pension program, employees become vested, a third vested after 3 years and are fully vested after 5 years of service. New employees after July 1st, 2020 are not vested until 10 years of service. And so that has made some significant changes in our pension valuation. And also we have pre-funded at least twice over the last 5 years to get that, to get this, what's known as the unfunded liability down. So the, off the top, the actuarially determined contribution for the plan, or what we're required to pay, beginning July 1st, decreased from $659,659 to $499,416. The best way to look at that is paying down that unfunded liability has reduced the amount of interest we're paying on our loan. So that's the reduction that we'll see. So about $160,000 less in required pension payments beginning July 1st than there were July 1st of last year. So saved us about $13,000 a month on that pension transfer. And it takes into account the actuarial information, takes into account inflation, payroll, expected investment returns, mortality, retirement turnover, all these things. They have the calculations for it and things like that. If anybody would like that information, I suggest contacting the actuaries because it's very detailed on the back end. So, summary of key valuations from last year. This is current year, this is prior year. So you see the reduction in the payments. Even though you'll notice here the mid-year normal cost is essentially the same. So the gap between the mid-year normal and the actuarial determined has to do with that unfunded liability. So the unfunded liability, actuarially calculated liability, last year was $1,102,677. That has been reduced to $43,170 due to the funding. The way they talk about funding is in multiple ways on a market value basis, which of course is going to fluctuate depending on what the market does. Remember, this is as of September 30th. There's been some slight changes in the market since September 30th. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but it's all over the place. We were 110% funded at that point.
May I interject something here? I looked up some information here. Being a recipient of a public pension, the average public pension in this country is funded between 78 and 83%. In a private company, it's generally between 103 and 108%. And the decision we made to take that money left at the end of the year and shore up our pension to assure that our employees will, there'll be plenty of money for them to get their benefits was really key.
It was, because on the actuarial basis, which was the projection moving forward, we're currently listed as 99.7% funded. So that's gonna be a moving target, it's gonna fluctuate year to year, but 5 years ago, that number was over $2 million that our liability was, now it's down to $43,170.
The market has helped,
The
though.
market has helped, absolutely. So they give you some more information. We have 36 current retired participants or beneficiaries. You can elect upon retirement that there's a spouse or survivorship clause that if you like, you take a little less, but if you pass away and your spouse is still living, they continue to get a payment. So 36 of those. We have 82 vested former participants. That was a large number. That's always been a large number because the old plan, you were partially vested after 3 years of service. So we have a lot of vested former participants that are not at retirement age yet. Number of active employees in the plan obviously is not going to fluctuate much year to year.
But the ones that are vested, terminated employees probably have significantly lower benefits
Right.
coming when they actually are qualified.
Right, because most of them have got less than 10 years of service in, and it's 2% per year of service.
Right, they're aware of that, I'm
Yes,
assuming?
oh yes, very much so.
Are they notified, or are they?
No, they have to come in and tell us.
Okay, they haven't, all right.
But they seem to show up right on time.
Okay, I was wondering
So-
about that, yeah.
So you can see here, this vested terminated participants number, you see how it grew rapidly over the last 10 years? Because we did have quite a few people that would get 5 years of service, get 100% vested, and get that 10%, and then leave our employment at that time.
And the multiplier is 2%.
2% per year service.
So that means if they do 5 years,
They get
they're under
10%.
10% of the average salary they had at the
That's
time they
correct.
left.
That's correct. So now with the 10-year vesting cliff, they will be guaranteed 20%, but they have to stay 10 years to be vested.
And they have to be 65 to
They have
start
to be
collecting.
60, well, they can be 55, but they take for
Oh,
early
okay.
retirement, but they take a significant penalty for
Right,
doing it at
yeah.
55. So, active participant data is in here. Our average years of service actually decreased in the plan due to, we had several retirements last year, and several long tenured retirements last year. So that reduced, and as a result, also our average age of participant reduced, which again helps in that pension calculation. So total monthly benefit, we did have 8 retirees last year. And so the total amount that we're paying out in pension benefits monthly has went up significantly because of those 8 retirees. Charts here showing you our contributions. You can see the 2 major jump ups were in 22 and in 25. That's when we pre-funded in 22 an additional $300,000. And in 25, we took surplus funds of $1.1 million and contributed to the pension program. So that shows how the market value, you see the market value is kind of all over the place versus the actuarial value is much more steady. And then let me get down here. This shows you again how this mid-year contribution is calculated. We pay that monthly, 1/12. It doesn't change for the next 12 months, so it'll start July 1st with a new thing. Again, state funding standards, the minimum we can contribute is $498,000. And they're asking for $499,000. So we're about at the minimum they'll allow us to contribute because of the unfunded portion being so low. So on a present value basis, 126% funded. That went up about 10%. That's based off of market value. Plan termination, hopefully this is not under discussion, but if we were to terminate the plan, we would be able to pay out 90% of the benefits that have been accrued as today. And then this funding history chart, this is what I'm talking about. You can see in 2020, before we made the changes to the pension plan and started doing some pre-funding, that number had continually risen on the unfunded chart here and got to $2.1 million. And you can see over the last 5 years how that has decreased to where we're at now. So we went from 71% funded in 17 to now basically 100% funded on that. So tremendous accomplishment by the commission and should bring the staff great confidence in the health of the plan moving forward. Again, they have a lot of demographic information in here to give you the spread of years of service, age. We've talked about the graying of our industry for quite some time. It is continuing to happen. We now have the same number of employees under 30 as over 60, which is good for us. Previously, that was not the case. And we actually have more under 25 than over 70, which was not the case last year. So we're getting a few younger employees, which is great in a labor-intensive field to have some younger guys coming in, helping out the team. But certainly, we're glad for our more experienced personnel to remain and transfer that knowledge for as long as they would wish to stay.
Now, there's something else interesting. After COVID, the life expectancy went down, and of course, the actuaries figure that into the whole calculation as well. And I'm expecting that will go up again.
Let's hope that goes up again, yes, sir.
Now that COVID, but I mean, that is another factor that's involved in this, so.
Yes, absolutely. So they are assuming a 7.25% return. That's about market rate for the last 30 years or so.
Right.
If we do a little better, we're way ahead. If we do a little worse, we're still behind. So
Yeah,
that's
we
just the
had a
market.
very good return on this.
We've had a very good return thus far on these plans. So these numbers will go into the balance sheet. So when we adjust the balance sheet during the audit, it will not say that our total pension liability is $43,000, but that is the actuarial liability. You'll see some differences based off the inflows and outflows and things that show up on the balance sheet.
I think the other thing to note is that when they on reports like this, they use a smoothing method.
Yes,
Which
absolutely.
is over a 5-year period, so that for market fluctuations are not so evident, or, don't change the curve so drastically on the plan.
Yeah, so you can see here, this is where we had the employer contribution major increase from year to year. That's that additional pre-funding of $1.1 million that helped get that liability much lower than what it was previously. And we also made $1.7 million in investment income, which is never a bad day. So, you can see here, the contributions, and so the excess contributions, previous year, we exceeded our contributions by $25,000. Last year, we were closer to $1.3 million in excess contribution. So, that's why we've seen the decrease. So they tell you the $43,000, technically, they've amortized that over a 25-year period, so that's why we get the extra little bit on our payment. So there still technically is an unfunded portion, but it's very small and is not something that I think we'll keep an eye on it, obviously, but if it stays in that range, we feel very confident that we'll be able to keep up with it. So do want to thank the commission for the support of doing this on the plan for the last few years, put us in a much more stable position, and certainly for the employees, it's always significant to be able to say that your pension benefits will be there when you're called upon. So,
I'll tell our employees, please stay healthy so you can enjoy these benefits
yes,
when the time
absolutely,
comes.
absolutely. So there's an overview. Certainly, I sent this out via email. You're welcome to any questions you have. I can get those to Siegel and get those questions answered if there's any very detailed questions. But that's the pension valuation in a nutshell. We get this once a year.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Great, thank you very much.
Very.
Thank you, Mr. Burrows. Appreciate the information. I always love good news. All right, is there any other matters?
Not this time, sir.
Okay, I'll accept a motion to adjourn,
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
and we are adjourned. It's official.
Official.